Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this video, I'm going to talk about some useful techniques in Python for data manipulation using Pandas library. The topic I am going to cover in this video is how we can subset the data frame using Pandas. Secondly, we will discuss group by function as well as pivot table functions. So what are the similarities and as well as what are the differences? The third thing which we will discuss is how we can assemble or concatenate the multiple data files into a single file. As we know that in a data science project or in a machine learning project, most of the time we are collecting the data from multiple sources. So this thing is very important while we are dealing with the data science project. So we will discuss how we can assemble them. Similarly, we will discuss the use of apply function in the pandas. And fifth thing, we will discuss how we can deal with the missing values in pandas. And lastly, we will discuss some graphical analysis of the quantitative data. So let's start by first importing the pandas library. So there is a two-way, either you can use import pandas or either you can use from pandas import static. So whatever the method you want to use, so you can use it. Okay, so once we have loaded the pandas library, now we can use the pandas as a keyword to access their functions, okay, as well as their attributes. So in pandas, we can access a function that is called as read_csv, and I'm giving a path where I have stored a data file of a CSV type, which is bike stores _ data.csv. Okay, so make sure you are using the front slash, okay, in order to read it, otherwise you will get the error. Okay, so in pandas.read_csv, with the help of this command, we would be able to read it. So once we write down, we can run this command. So the output is appear over here. So this is the type of the data which we are going to use it. Okay, next there is another way which is mostly the data scientists love to use for importing the library, whether they are importing a pandas library or any other library like numpy or sci-fi. So that is with respect to importing the library with respect to their allies. Okay, so instead of writing down import pandas, so we should write down import pandas as, that is pt. So that means with the help of this as, we can use allies. So that is with the help of this allies, we can access the function of the pandas. Okay, so that is import pandas as pt. Now I am accessing the pandas function, or you can say pandas attribute, with respect to pt.read_csv. So we are reading this particular data file, that is a same code, and then after reading it, I am storing into a variable that is called as a sales variable. Okay, so once it will read it, it will store into the sales. So okay, we can run it. So right now the whole data set, that was this one, is stored in a variable which is called as a sales. Okay, now we come to our first topic, that how we can subset this data frame. So let's see, out of this entire data set, I want to check only those data entries against which we have a country United States and the age group must be less than 25. So how we can do that? We can use the method that is called as lop method. So with the help of this lop method, we can subset the data frame. So how we can do that? We can use sales, that is the name of the variable in which we have stored the data, .lop. Then we are accessing the variable in which we want to apply the filtering, or you can say we want to subset with respect to particular variable. So we want to subset with respect to a country, that is United States. So that's why we are accessing a variable that sales.country, okay, that is the name of the variable, equal to, this is the entry, okay, where you want to see, that is with respect to subset with respect to this particular data entry. And we are saying this condition must be fulfilled as well as this condition must be fulfilled. So that data entry must be having the United States. Against that, the age must be lesser or equal to 25. That age must be less than 25. So once these two conditions is fulfilled, then show me all the data entry against which these two conditions are fulfilled. So right now we can see that only those data entry we can check where the age group is less than 25 as well as the country is the United States. So there is another way to write this particular code. As you can see that here I am just writing down the braces, mean I am closing the braces. So there is another way. Let me show you that approach first. So this is the second method. So instead of just closing it with respect to the braces, if you write down comma and then colon sign, it will show us the again same output. Because in Python, when we are writing down the column, that means all the columns that are available in the data set. Okay, so it is showing us the same output. So either you can use method 1 or either you can use method 2. Okay, so either the method 1 or either the method 2 which we are using. So it is subsetting the data with respect to these two columns or these two variables, but showing us all the data variables, or you can say all the variables that are available in the data set. So let's say I want to access only the see only the country variable, only see the customer gender variable as well as age group. The rest of the variable I don't want to see them. So how we can do that? We can do that with respect to again sales.log. So right now I am subsetting with respect to the customer gender. That is, I want to see only the females data who have the age group between 35 to 64, and they are buying a product that is called as HRAC 4 bike. And I want to see the data against the variables customer gender as well as age group and product instead of the all the variables that are available in the data set. So with the help of this command, I can access, first of all, we are subsetting with respect to this one. And with the help of this one, I am checking only those variables, okay, in the output. The next thing is, right now I am subsetting with respect to the quantitative variable. That means I am saying sales dot profit. That means I am calculating the average value of this particular quantitative variable, that is a profit variable, which is over here. As you can see that this is a profit. So we are calculating the mean of this particular variable. So how we can calculating it? That is sales, in which we have stored the data. Then dot profit, that is the name of the variable. Dot, that is a function of the pandas. Okay, dot mean. So once we do that, it will calculate the average value of this particular column, or you can say variable, and storing into a variable that is called as profit underscore mean. So now I'm subsetting again using the log method. So I'm saying sales.log this variable. So that means sales profit. So we are accessing this variable, that is profit. If it is greater than the mean value that is stored in this particular variable, show me the data set. Okay. So that means only those data entry will showing in the output when the profit against which the profit mean is greater than the average value. One more thing, as you can see that, so there is a two-way to access the column. Either you can use this list approach or either you can use this dot approach. So remember that this dot approach only works when you have no space in the variable name, or you can see the column name. If you have a space, like if I have a unit space price, then this method will not work, dot profit. Okay, so then you can use this approach. Okay, so either if there is no gap, okay, so either method can be applied. Okay, so the next thing is what we are doing again. As you can see that with the help of this command, we can check all the variables that are available in our data frame. Again, let's see if I want to access only a particular type of variables. Like I want to see only the variables against which the profit mean is greater than, that is customer gender, country, state, for example. So how we can do that? We can write down after this particular command, we want to write down the name of those variable which we want to see. That is this. Okay, this thing we have already seen, that is with respect to the colon sign. Okay, now let's move to the second topic, which is basically how we can use group by and pivot table. I hope you understand how we can subset the data frame with respect to variables as well as rows. Okay, the next thing is which we are going to discuss, which is group by function. Okay, so number one thing is group by as well as pivot table in Pandas, they are almost doing the same thing, but there is a bit difference. So what is the difference, we will see later. So let's first of all discuss what is a group by. As the function name called group by, that means whatever the factor or whatever the variable you want to choose, so it will group by with respect to that variable. Like right now I am saying the sales variable, that is in which we have stored the data, that means group whole data with respect to country and show me the count. So that means it is grouping with respect to the country, Australia, Canada. So in country we have these you can say data entries against Australia, Canada, France, Germany, and so on, and we are writing down counted. So that means all the data sets. So this is just counting us. That means how many times Australia is appearing in the data set, how many times Canada is appearing. So this is not a good representation. If you want to just check it, how many times Australia is appearing, how many times Canada is appearing. So how we can do that? So after this one, after this group by, we can write down the country column and then count. So that means only counting with respect to country. So that is the best representation. So instead of checking all the data set, which is, as you can see, that showing us the counting with respect to Australia, Canada, and so on. So this is a better way to write down how many times a particular country is appearing. So another thing is, if you want to count it, or you can say to grouping with respect to more than one factor or one variable, or you can do that. So like right now this is a single factor. So now if you want to access multiple, then you need to write down in a list format. That is basically, that is the bracket start and bracket close with the, which is called as then we have the country as well as we have the age group, and then we are saying counting with respect to the country variable. Okay, so right now what it will do, it will do sales dot group by and grouping it with respect to country and then age group, as you can see in the output. So this is country, this is age group, and showing us the country. So that means in Australia, how many adults are there? In Australia, how many seniors are there? Okay, in the data entry perspective. So this is the output. Similarly, if we write down after this unstacked, so the output will be look like this way. Okay, so whatever the output method you like, so you can use it. So if you haven't used unstack, it will look like this way. So with the help of unstack, it will look like this way. Okay, now I'm calculating some descriptive analysis as well as using group by function. So I am saying show me the profit average against each country. So average profit against each country, how we can do that? First of all, we are grouping it, and then we are calculating the average with respect to this variable. Okay, that is a profit dot mean. So right now we can check the average value, or you can say average profit against each country. Similarly, if we want to calculate the average with respect to multiple variable, so again right now I am grouping with respect to this variable, that is month, and calculating the average with respect to profit and order quantity. So in order to do that, we have to use two dimensional, that is mean array within the array, or you can say list within the list, that is profit and order quantity. So with the help of this one, we can calculate the average value against those variables. Similarly, if we want to group by with respect to two variables, that is this way, and we are calculating the average with respect to these two variables. Okay, so earlier we were grouping one variable, now we are grouping with respect to two factors, that is month as well as age group. So remember that there is a two way you can use the group by function. In method one, which we were using earlier, so what we are doing, we were first grouping it and then calculating the descriptive analysis. And there is another way. First of all, you should access the columns Okay, right now the first method, what we are doing sales dot group by, and with respect to this, and then calculate the descriptive analysis with respect to this variable. So in this particular method, what we are doing, first we are accessing the data, okay, data column which in which we are interested, and then using one of the data column we will group by, that is age group, and then we are saying describe. So we are grouping with respect to age group. So what kind of descriptive analysis it will show us? It will show us the descriptive analysis with respect to the month variable, which is a qualitative variable. So it will show us the descriptive analysis of the qualitative variable in terms of count, unique, top number, and then the frequency. Similarly, if you want to do it, again I'm using the second approach. First I'm accessing the column instead of using group by first. So I'm accessing the column, then I'm saying group by with respect to age group and provide me the descriptive analysis. So whatever the variables are left after the group by, that is age group, okay, so it will show us the descriptive analysis of the rest of the variable, that is unit cost as well as profit. So both are the quantitative variable, so it will show us the quantitative descriptive analysis of those against those variable, which is unit cost as well as the profit, which is count, mean, standard deviation, minimum value, first quartile, median, third quartile, and the maximum value, and so on. Okay, so similarly we can use the group by function in order to draw some qualitative analysis. Like right now what I am doing, I am drawing the multiple bar chart. Or we can do that, first of all, what I am saying, sales group by, okay, so that is right now I'm using method 1. So group by with respect to country and age group, and right now I'm saying counting with respect to one of the variable, which is country, count it, and then draw the plot, that is what kind of plot we want to draw, bar chart. Once we write down stack is equal to false, that means show us the multiple bar chart, or you can say side by side bar chart, and this is the figure size, okay, and we are saving into a variable that is called as emp. Okay, why we are doing that? Because I want to label y-axis as well as x-axis, because with the help of this this variable in which we have stored the graph, we are saying it, label it with respect to number of customer. So label the x-axis with respect to country. Okay, so as you can see that on x-axis we have a country, on a y-axis we have the number of customers, and this is a multiple bar chart with respect to the country, as well as the bars are representing the age group, okay, and y-axis indicating the frequency. Similarly, if we use the same command but in the stack, if we write down true, so instead of showing us the multiple bar chart, or you can say side by side bar chart, it will show us the component bar chart, or you can say stack bar chart. Okay, so now we are going to talk about the pivot table. Okay, remember that pivot table and group by can be used for the same task, but in terms of performance wise, as I will show you later, that pivot table is bit slow compared to the group by. So, but both are the okay method, or you can say fine, whatever the approach you want to use. Either you want to use pivot table, or either you want to use group by. So both the things can be used. It's up to you which approach you want to use it. Like first of all, I'm using the pivot table. How we can use it? It will do it PD, that is basically pandas, okay, indicating the pandas library, and from the pandas library I'm calling a function that is called as pivot underscore table. Okay, so against which variable, or you can say which data frame we want to pivot it, that is the sales, in which we have stored the entire data set, and we are saying it, pivoting it, or you can say grouping it with respect to age group. So in order to grouping it, so we have a command that is index. So index is equal to whatever the variable against you want to pivoting it. So that is what this command will do. It will pivoting it with respect to age group, that is over here, and showing us the average value against all the quantitative variables. So this command will not show us the qualitative variables. As you can see that there is no country, there is no age underscore group and so on. Okay, so this command is equal to which command? That is if we want to use the group by function, that is this one. The difference is in group by it will show as the data we have stored in the sales variable, but when we are using pivoted, it will show us the result and arrange it with respect to the alphabetical order. Okay, so otherwise the both the output are the same. As you can see that the average cost as well as average cost, so these are the same results, right? So similarly, if we want to, as we were using the group by function in order to with respect to two variables, so if you want to pivot it, or you can say group it using the pivot table with respect to two variables or two factors, how you can do that? So in an index you can write down the two variables. So right now it is showing us country as well as age group and showing us all the quantitative variables against we can check the average values. These are the average values right now. Okay, again if you want to access only the particular column instead of all the columns, so we can write down the addition, that is country comma value is equal to profit and unit cost. Instead of showing us cost, age group, day and so on, show us only the profit as well as unit cost. Okay, so right now it is showing us with respect to country wise average profit as well as average cost. Okay, similarly, if we want to find out instead of only the average value, let's say we want to find out the median as well as the standard deviation. So for that, we need to call the numpy library. So how we can do that? Import numpy as np. Okay, then we are saying that pd, that is pandas function pivot table, sales in which we have stored the data, and we are pivoting it with respect to country, show us the variable of unit cost and profit, and calculate of that is agree function is equal to from the numpy mean, okay, as well as median as well as standard deviation. So that mean pivoted with respect to country and calculate the mean, median and standard deviation of these variables, that is unit cost as well as profit. So right now it is showing us the mean, median and standard deviation against both of the variable. So similarly, we are saying we can pivot it with respect to multiple variable. Okay, right now we are pivoting it with respect to this one, and we are saying that showing us the value of unit cost as well as profit, and again we are calculating mean, median, mode. Here we were only pivoting with respect to country. Here we are pivoting it with respect to country as well as age group. Okay, next again, let's say if you want to say that we want to calculate the sum of profit, okay, but I want to calculate the sum of total cost as well as mean of cost. I don't want to calculate the mean of profit. So how we can do that? So right now I'm saying p table, that is a variable in which I am storing the data. Okay, so this is the advantage. So what is the advantage? So we will see later. So which means we can subset if we are using this this option, that is mean once we have write down the pivot table command and store into a variable, and then we can further you can say subsetting this pivot table output. Okay, how we can do that? We can see after that. First of all, what we are trying to do over here is that is again pivot table. I am accessing the data set, and then I'm indexing with respect to country and as well as age group, and then I want to show only the profit as well as the unit cost, and then I am saying agree function that calculate the sum of the profit. So that's why profit colon sign, and I want to calculate the sum of this total profit against country as well as age group. Similarly, calculate the sum of total cost against country and age group as well as mean. So how we can do that? So we can calculate unit cost, colon sign, sum as well as mean. So as you can see that in the output, okay, once we write down p table, so this is country against age group, against profit we are having only sum, but against unit cost we have sum as well as means answer, right? Okay, so as I told you earlier that once we have stored this output in a column that is called as p table, that is a variable, so we can further use this variable to filter the output. So that means instead of I want to report all this output, I want to report only against the as total profit, or you can say average cost per unit, as well as total cost only against the United States country. So I can access the column which is variable, that is p table, in which we have stored this entire pivot table output. Then I can call a function that is called query. Okay, then country is equal to United States. So the right now it is showing us only the United States results. Similarly, we can use for the multiple countries. Okay, so United States as well as Germany, right? Now we are comparing the performance of the pivot table as well as GroupBy. Once I have write down percentage time, okay, and then I am calculating the average against the age group of the entire data set, similarly using GroupBy of the entire data set's average. Okay, as you can see that once I have run this command, you can see wall time 52.5 millisecond. For the GroupBy it's 46. So that means for computational perspective, we see that so GroupBy is performing better compared to pivot table. But you can use both the options. Both are good. Both have their own advantage and disadvantage. So I like both approaches. Okay, now we are coming to the third topic, which is basically we are talking about concatenate as well as assembly, or you can say the data frame. So which means if we have stored the data, or we have data in the multiple file, how we can combine them. So first of all, I'm reading the first data file and storing into the variable df1, and then I'm reading the second data file csv and storing into the second file. So then I am writing down df1, so what kind of data in the first variable, mean first data type, and then I'm writing down df2, so what kind of data stored in the second variable. So in order to combine them, how we can do that? So right now I'm combining with respect to row. So that means I want first show me the first data set, then after this in the sixth row add this data frame. So how we can do that? So I'm saying that pd dot concatenate. Okay, that is a function. Then df1 and df2. So once we do that, and then I'm storing into a variable that is row assemble. So which means when I'm calling this function row assemble, as you can see that this is the first data set and this is the second data set. So it is assembled with respect to row wise. Okay, so let's say I want to access with respect to zero index. So that means in zero index, that is this data set as well as this data set. So how we can do that? So that means all the rows with the zero index, so we can use block function, block method, and then zero. So that means wherever we have the index 0 in a row wise, it will show us. Similarly, if I use the iLog method, it will show me only the first row data set. Okay, instead of showing me against zero index, it will show me only the first rows data points if I use iLog method. Okay, now if I want to concatenate, or you can say assemble, instead of row wise, I want to concatenate with respect to column wise. So for in order to do that, how we can do that is pd concatenate, and we have to add this command, that is access is equal to 1. So with the help of this one, we would be able to concatenate with respect to column wise. So again, if we want to access all the A's column, so we can just write down column underscore assemble, in which we have stored this concatenate data, and then A, so it will show us all the data where we have A. So now we are going to talk about the apply function. So apply function in Pandas, that is basically taking a row or a column's data and pass it through a function and return some specific value. So basically from a data frame, we can take a row of a data frame or a column of a data frame, and we can pass through a function, and that function can be applied within the apply function, and apply function will return some value. Okay, we will see that what does that mean. But before that, as we can see that the apply function, we can pass a user defined function, as well as we can pass the default pandas function. But right now we are going to first discuss how we can define the user defined function. So let's discuss how we can build the user defined function. So first of all, I'm going to write a function in which I want to say that if I pass a number, so give me the square of that number. So in order to do that, we have to write define, that is a keyword, which is df, mean we are going to define a function. This is the name of the function, whatever you want to write. Then give the x, that means one parameter we have to give. So whatever the number we will give, and that is a numeric number, give us the square. Okay, so we are saying return x power 2. Okay, so that means right now we have defined a function called square. So whenever we are going to again call it with square and then bracket with the number, so if we run this command, we will see that we will get the square of that particular number. Similarly, now we are again calling this function square, and we are giving the function value 5, and we are getting the square of that particular number. Okay, let's define another function, which is an average function. So right now I am saying that define a function where I will give two numbers, and the function will provide me the average of that two numbers. So how we can do that? Again, def, that is define. So that is basically the keyword for defining the function. I'm giving the name of that function avg, that is average, and two arguments. So you can say two parameters of this function. So basically, whenever I'm calling this average function, so I have to give two inputs. Okay, return. So in return, we are saying that sum that those numbers and then divided by 2.0. So which means divided by 2, and we will get the average of these two numbers. So how we can call, again we are calling average, and I'm saying take the average of 5 and 6. So as you can see that this is the average of that number. So now we have seen that how we can define a user defined function and how we can call it and to get the results. Now I am going to talk about to define a data frame. Okay, so as we have seen that we can define the data frame using pd, that is pandas dot data frame is the function that is available in pandas. Okay, then bracket start, we are saying the dictionary of a. Okay, so that is a is basically a keyword, and what are the elements of a? Then colon sign, we can write down a list. So that means all these numbers are under the a. Similarly, we are defining b, and then we are defining a list. So this is the elements of b. Okay, because we are storing this particular function into df, if we write down df, we can see that particular function. So let's say, so this is called 2 columns and 3 rows, and I want to scale the first column. So how can I do that? The first way is we can simply write down df, that is the data in which we have stored the data. Okay, that is a variable, and then I can call the first column, that is bracket a, or either I can write down df dot a. Okay, so either the way you can use. As you remember that in the last section we also discussed, if in the name of the variable there is a space, then you cannot use dot method. Then you cannot use df dot. Okay, but if there is no space in the variable name, then you can use dot method. But for both the cases, you can apply this approach. That's okay, whether you have the space in the variable name or not. Okay, so right now I am using the bracket method, that is df a, and then I am squaring it, mean power 2. So once I run this command, we can get the square of the first column. The same thing we can do it through the apply function. As I told you earlier while we were defining the apply function definition, we said we can give the input of the data frames row or a column. So a single row or a single column, and we can apply uh, a function within the apply, and apply will return according to that function value. So as you remember that we have defined a square function in which what that function is doing, so whatever the input we are giving, okay, it will square it. So remember that right now this square function is doing what? It will do only the single number square. But with the help of apply, what it will do, when we are saying df, the first function, and then I am saying apply, so that means we are accessing the first column, then dot apply square. So which means it will take the square of every element of the first column. So that is the advantage of the apply function. Although we have defined the square function for a single element square value, but right now with the help of apply function, we can apply the square on the every element of the first column. Similarly, we can apply through of the second column as well. Similarly, we can also apply the square on row wise as well. Okay, so I hope it is clear now. So what's the apply function can do? Similarly, right now I'm again defining another function which is just printing. Right now I'm saying def, that is defining the function. This is the name of the function. Print a, right? So this is, we have defined a function. So whatever the argument I am giving, so print it mean just define that print that number or whatever the string I am giving it to you. Okay, right now I am saying df, so that is we have defined the function earlier. So now I am saying that df apply. So in a apply function, I am again giving the printed function. So what it will do, it will print this df function. But as you know that because right now when we have defined this user defined function, we haven't mentioned any return, mean we haven't returned anything, we were just printing it. So due to that, it will print the first column, second column, but after that you can see that a none, b none. So this is due to when your function returning nothing. Okay, if you are returning something, then you haven't get this value, so only you will get this one. So if you write down return 0 or something like that. Okay, so the next thing is now we are going to take the average of 3. So again I am defining a user defined function. So what I am trying to say is, because my df variable in which we have that store a data frame, so I have 2 columns and 3 rows. So what I want the average of every row. Okay, so for that I am saying that define a function. Okay, and I want to apply a function, right? So I'm defining a user defined function, that is df average 3, that is mean the average of 3 numbers, and return the average of these 3 numbers. So we have defined a user defined function. So that means whenever I am calling average 3 and give the 3 arguments, it will return me the average of those 3 numbers. So as you can see that if I write down df dot apply and the name of this function, it will give me the error. Why it is giving me the error? As we have defined that in an apply function, we can give the input of the data frames, single column or a row. Okay, so right now it will giving us the error that y and z are the missing argument. So that means it is right now reading only the first x argument. So the thing is how we can tackle this situation. So we can tackle this situation using this way. So that means instead of defining the function this way, okay, so we can define the function this way. Okay, so how we are defining it? We are saying df average 3 column. So I am saying that x is equal to column 0. So that is basically, which mean, so we are basically taking the average of column 1's every element. So that means this element, this element, this element. So this is equal to x, this is equal to y, this is equal to z. Similarly, this is x is equal to x, this is equal to y, this is equal to z. So we are doing this way, right? So as you can see that with the help of this, then again I am doing return x plus y plus z divided by 3. So now we can take the average of three numbers. Okay, now if I am going to apply the average 3, as you can see that the right now argument is only one, that is a single column, okay, or a single row. So when we are doing this one, you can see that, so we are getting the average column wise. So that is this one, basically the average of first column and then the average of second column, because we have stored the row wise elements. Okay. Now, similarly, if you want to get the average row wise, okay, so how we can do that? So right now we have only two columns, so that means we need to take the average of two columns. Okay, so that's why we would be able to get the average of row wise. So how we can do that? So we have to define again a function. Okay, then how we can do that? X is equal to row 0, X is equal to row 1. That means basically we are saying that average of column and average of second column. Okay, and after this we are returning the average of those two basically columns. Okay, so then we are saying define apply average to X is equal to 1. So with the help of this one, we would be able to get the average with respect to row wise. Okay, so instead of, if we are not applying this one, so it will consider as a column wise. Okay, now we would be able to get the average row wise. So right now how we are getting the average of row wise, that is 5 plus 10 divided by 2, 10 plus 20 divided by 2, and so on. So I hope you understand the function of the applier. That is, in applier we can give a function that is either a user defined function, or either it is a you can say the default function that is available in Python. Okay, and but apply function will take the row entry of the data frame or a column. Okay, so make sure that you have the single argument function. So how you can make it, we have discussed, either you can define this way or a column wise, or either you can define row wise. So whatever the way you want to adopt, so depending upon your situation. So now what I am trying to do is I will use the apply function to identify the missing value in the data. So how we can do that? First of all, I am going to read a data frame. Okay, so I have a data in a CSV format, that is basically the word parameter underscore data, which is a COVID-19 data set. So I am reading it through pandas, that is pd.read underscore CSV, and I'm storing into the word parameter word meter variable. And then after that I am just checking its first 5 rows. Okay, now again, as you can see that we can see some variables having NaN, that is basically indicating the missing numbers. Okay, so how we can tackle these missing numbers? So we can tackle these missing numbers, you first of all identifying how many missing values in every column, similarly how many missing values in every row. First we have to identify that particular thing, then we will check it how we can tackle with these missing numbers. So first of all, we can use the apply function to identify how many missing numbers in every row and how many missing numbers in every column. So in order to do that, again I'm defining a user defined function, that is def missing underscore number a. So that is the input parameter. Right now I am saying that return. So what it should be returned, I am saying sum a dot is null. So that means wherever it is finding a null value, mean missing number, NaN number, okay, sum that particular value. Okay, so it will return us the counts of row as well as the column wise, depending upon how we are calling it. So once we have defined a function in order to count the missing numbers, so in order to get the output, I am saying that print missing values per column, so that would be written as it is. Then we are saying word parameter, in which we have stored this entire data set. Then dot apply, and in apply I'm giving this user defined function apply number. Okay, and X is equal to 0. So with the help of this X is equal to 0, that means it will be applied in every column. So once we run this command, you can see that it is giving us against every column how many missing numbers we have. Okay, so this is basically giving us the count. If you want to get the row wise missing number, then you have to write down x is equal to 1. So this is the same message which we want to print, and then again this would be same, only the difference is x is equal to 1, so you can see the missing numbers in row wise. So I hope you can understand what is apply function and how we can use that. So right now we have applied the apply function in order to identify the missing numbers in every row as well as in every variable or every column. Now we are going to talk about how we can deal with these missing numbers. So right now I will discuss three methods. Method number one, in which we can say that we can replace the missing number with the average value, okay, with mean, mod, or median. The second method I am going to adopt is basically the forward fill method. That means whatever the value we have, if we have a number, that should be replaced on the forward missing number. Similarly, we will discuss backward filling method. So that means if I have a missing number of first two rows, but at a third row we have a number, so backward fill means that number will be replaced at the second row as well as fill the first row element. So how we can do that? We can do that with the help of fill NA function. So all these three methods will be applied with the help of this fill NA method. Okay, so first of all, what I am going to do is, so as you can see that WHO region, so there is a variable that is called as WHO region. Okay, right now how many missing numbers we have? We have 25. So I want to replace all the missing numbers with the mod of WHO region. Why I am using mod? Because WHO is a qualitative data. Okay, as you can see that this is a qualitative variable. So mod will tell us the most repeating region it is. Okay, for this particular data set, although this technique may not work properly, but just for the understanding purpose, I am using this data set and applying this particular method. So in order to apply the mod, right now I'm applying this mod from the sci-fi.stats library. Okay, so that's why first of all I am importing that particular library from sci-fi .stats import mod, and then mod function, and we are applying this mod function on which variable? That is a word parameter in which we have stored the data, and then we are accessing that particular variable. So in our output we can see that that is array Europe, so that means it is giving us the Europe is the most frequent number and the count is 55. So right now what I will do, I will get the from this array what is the first element. Okay, so just getting the first element with the help of again mod WHO world meter WHO region dot mod 0. Okay, so it is giving me the most repeated number, which is Europe. Now I can use fill NA function to replace a WHO variable. Okay, wherever we have find the missing number, it will replace with Europe, as well as what I am doing, I am applying the same thing on a continent variable, which is again a qualitative variable, and right now the missing number is 2. So in WHO we have 25 missing values, in continent we have a 2. So both we are dealing with the mod. So with the help of this command, that is we are accessing the variable, fill NA is a function, and we are passing the argument that compute the mod, and then take the first element of that mod, mean that array, and in place is equal to true. And then after that we are again printing that apply function, right, which we have done earlier. So we have defined the function missing number, that is basically this one, okay, which we were counting it. Okay, and then in apply I am passing that number and I am getting the missing numbers again column wise. So print this one. As you can see that after doing this, these two command, mean executing these two commands, you can see that there is no missing number in continent, there is no missing number in WHO region. Okay, that was how we can replace the mod value of that particular variable to the missing number. Similarly, if we have a quantitative variable, we can take the average like mean, median. So how can I do that? Again, in order to compute the mean, I am using the numpy library. So I am importing numpy as np and computing the mean of the population, that is a quantitative variable. So I got the average. Now again, using the fill na function, I am replacing the missing number with the average of with the average value. Okay, if you can see that earlier in the population we were having the two missing numbers. So after doing this, now we have zero missing numbers. Okay, so this is how we can replace the missing number with mod value, the mean value, or either you can use median value. That is basically the average value. Now the second method is, instead of filling the average value, we can fill from the previous number. Okay, that is, for that we can use like right now I am saying that for all the variables in world parameter, fill na, and the method we should apply the ffill, that is forward fill. So as you can see that in a new cases there is na and the next number is 357. Okay, but in previously, let me show you in new cases. Okay, as you can see that in here we have in new cases we have na 357 na. Okay, once we apply this one, okay, similarly if we apply this forward fill method, as you can see that once I am running this, dot head mean show me only the first 5 rows of the data set. So once I run this command, what I will see that the first row is again missing, but after the number, that is 357, as you can see that we have the previous number is repeating in the forward. All the missing columns, that is filled with the previous number. Okay, because this was missing, so that is again missing numbers, but whenever we have a quantity, it will fill the next row. Okay, which was earlier, that is like this way. As I have discussed, this is na. So these numbers were replaced with 357, 357. Similarly, this na is replaced with 12, 12. Similarly, this will be 98, 98. Okay, as you can see over here, 12, 12, 98, 98. Okay, again, in order to check the missing numbers again, so I am passing this command, saving this command to a variable, that is wfm, and then again printing it. As you can see that now the missing numbers. Okay, earlier the missing number values, like in new cases 187, now in new cases the missing number is only 2, because these are the two missing numbers. So it due with the help of this forward pass. If you want to do the backward filling, okay, right now I am applying the backward filling on wf. Okay, on wf I am right now applying the method of wf bfill, that is backward fill. So with the help of this we were able to finish all the missing numbers. Okay, so whatever the method you want to apply, either you can apply forward fill, backward fill, or either you can deal with the missing number with the average of that particular variable. Okay, so I hope it is clear how to deal with the missing numbers. The third thing, which lastly we are going to discuss about the box plot as well as the histogram, how we can draw the box plot as well as histogram using pandas. So first of all, for that I am taking the data of bike store sales data and I'm storing into the sales, and I'm checking this particular data set, and in order to draw the plot I'm importing the matplotlib plot. And in order to draw the histogram, either you can use this approach, syntax approach, or either you can use this syntax approach. So what we are saying, we are saying sales, in which we have stored the data, histogram. Okay, column name for that which you want to draw the histogram, then bins. So in bins we are giving the numbers from smallest to largest, and we have decided the class interval of 400. Okay, and then I'm giving the figure size. Or either you can use this approach. Okay, first of all, we are accessing a column, then we are saying plot, what kind of plot, histogram, and then the same thing. So either method can be applied to draw the histogram. Okay, there is another way. Instead of giving the bin, or you can see the intervals of the bin by yourself, just give the number of bins. Okay, that is 8. So that means Python, or you can say Pandas, all automatically determine how many what should be the class interval for every bin. But the number of bin must be 8. As well as when we are writing down by age group, that means for every age group, it is developing the histogram of the profit variable every separately. Okay. Similarly, we can draw the box plot for a variable. So again, we can use two syntax. Either you can use this approach, or either you can use this approach. Okay. So that is sales.box, the column name, or you can say the name of the variable for which we want to draw the box plot. Then the figure size. So this is the box plot. Okay, as you know that in a box plot we have the box. With respect to box, we have 3 lines. Okay, at the bottom we have Q1, at the center we have Q2, which is equal to median, and the top row is basically, or you can say top line is basically of the box plot is representing Q3, and this row, or you can say this line, is basically representing the upper whisker, and the bottom one is representing the lower whisker. Okay, I'll just explain you what does that mean is basically how we can interpret. So let's first discuss how we can draw the box plot vertically. So if I write down add a argument word is equal to false, so we can see the box plot horizontally. So this is vertical way, this is horizontal way. Similarly, if I add by age group, that means box plot with respect to every age group. Now come to the point how we can interpret that one. So basically, histogram as well as box plot can be used for the same purpose in order to identify the shape of that distribution, or you can say shape of the data. Okay, if this shape is look like a bell curve, then it is saying that it's a symmetrical curve. Okay, but right now it is look like a positive skew. So that means positive skewed is indicating that most of the sales are under this line over here, and very few are going towards the right hand side values. Okay. Similarly, with the help of box plot, we can also take this interpretation that is the same way. So I hope you understand that how we can deal with the missing data, how we can define user-defined function, and how we can input that user-defined function to the apply function in order to perform different types of the computation, as well as how we can draw the box plot as well as a histogram using Pandas library. Thank you so much. Kindly do subscribe this channel. Thanks a lot.